So far in this Java tutorial series, we have covered 3 different loop statements: the while loop, the do while loop, and the for loop. In this video, I will introduce the forEach loop. The forEach loop is used to traverse through any array and is sometimes the more elegant solution to complete this specific task in comparison to the for loop. Let's look at an example. Here we have an int array, which is named exactly that, int array. In declaring this int array, I have also initialized it to contain 3 integer values, 1, 2, and 3. Now we can traverse through the array and print each value stored in it using a for loop, like such. And while this method of printing the contents of the array to the console works perfectly fine, as we can see when we run the program, we can also complete the same task by using a forEach loop. To do so, first we will type the word for, then in parentheses we will put int num. This signifies we are traversing through variables of the int data type, and for each one we encounter, we will use the variable num to momentarily store each value. Next comes a colon followed by the name of the array we want to traverse through. This line of code can be read as for each int num in int array, or for a better understanding, for each int variable that will temporarily be referenced as num in the int array initialized up here, do something. And for this example, that something will be a simple print line statement that prints the value stored in num. Notice I did not use braces to contain the print line statement as it is only a single line of code. However, if there was more than one line of code, braces would be absolutely mandatory to ensure the program runs correctly. Now when we run this program, you can see we get the same result as we did when we used a for loop to print the value stored in the int array. Now we can change num to anything, but just remember to also change it here if you do so. However, the data type of int here must remain int, as that is the data type of the value stored in the array named int array. If we were to change this to a char array named letters and initialize this array to contain the letters A, B, and C, like such, we would then have to change the name here to letters, as that is the new name of the array that we want to traverse through. Notice we don't get an error if we leave this data type here as int, and when we run the program we get the values 97, 98, and 99 printed to the console. That is because these are the ASCII values of A, B, and C. If we change int here to char and run the program, we then get the char values of the letters array printed to the console. We can also use the forEach loop on an array list. For example, let's create an array list of strings called days. We'll go ahead and import the array list class. Then we will add the days of the week to the array list using the add method. Now that the array list has been filled with the days of the week, we can use a forEach loop to traverse through the array list and print each day to the console. To do so, let's change this to days. Notice we get an error under days. When we hover over, we see type mismatch, cannot convert from element type string to char. That's because the elements in the array list days are of the string data type, not the char data type. If we change char to string, the error goes away. Although we can leave this as num, let's go ahead and change it to day so that it makes a little more sense. Now we can run the program to see all the days of the week printed to the console. While the forEach loop is capable of making code more elegant, it is not always the ideal loop to choose when looping through an array. forEach loops are not ideal when you plan on modifying an array while traversing it. forEach loops also eliminate the ability of using an index to refer to a specific element in an array. Therefore, when deciding to use a forEach loop in your code, make sure to verify it is capable of successfully and elegantly performing whatever task you are attempting to program.